Hello everyone, my name is Brandon Sarate, and I will be talking about the state as a work of art, Florence and the Medici, which is the topic 7.1, and I will discuss about the influence of the Medici family in Florence, about the art and the development of humanist thought. First of all, who were the Medicis? The Medici family was one of the most powerful families in Florence and in Italy between the 15th and the 18th century. They were very rich and they made their wealth based on cloth and silk manufacturing and especially with banking operations. They ruled Florence for centuries without crown because they controlled almost all inside Florence, but they were not officially the rulers. And another important fact about the Medici family was that they highly support the humanities and artists in Florence and in Italy. And one of the most important people in Medici family was Cosimo Medici, which was one of the heads of the family. The Medici support to artists can be seen in Lorenzo Ghiberti. Lorenzo was one of the most famous Florence artists during Renaissance. He was metal worker, sculptor, and trained in gold trade. He won the public competition for the project of the door of the baptistry, and one of the curious things about its job was that he made self-portrait of him, a signature and assertion of his own wealth as artist as an individual. We can see one of the self-portrait of him in the gates in the picture. But when we can see the amazing job of Ghiberti is first in the sacrifice of Isaac, which was the job with he won the competition for the Gate of Paradise, which was a piece built almost for from one simple piece, and then the Gates of Paradise, that its name came from the word paradiso in Italian, that is the area between a baptistry and the entrance to its cathedral. In addition to being beautiful, these works also tell stories about the Bible, which was one of the most important things in the era. On the other hand, one of the most important symbols of Florence and in the era was the Florence Cathedral. Its construction began in the year 1296 and was finished until 140 years later. Its design was based in part on famous Rome constructions such as the Pantheon, the Colosseum, and other important constructions. This cathedral was very carefully designed and planned to be one of the most important symbols of the city. For its consecration, even the compositor Guillaume Dufay uh, wrote one of its melody called Nuper Rosarum Flores, especially for this cathedral. With this cathedral, we can see that the church still have importance in the era, but also how innovation began flourish not only in sculpture but also in the architecture and in other areas. These innovations can be seen with the scientific perspective. The scientific perspective is the technique in which artists create a three-dimensional illusion into two-dimensional surface. One of the most representative artists on this technique was Alberti Brunelleschi and Masaccio. This technique was based especially in the use of geometry. The trick of this technique is the use of the vanishing point. The vanishing point is the point in which all lines converge in a single point to make that illusion of a three-dimension perspective. The viewer point is the vantage point, and they use orthogonal line, horizontal line, and they converge in the vanishing point to create this illusion. An important artist that not only masters the scientific perspective, was Masaccio, which also add to its paint the a new perspective called the atmospheric perspective, which was the illusion cast by atmospheric haze that gives at the paints a kind of sense of more naturalism. We can appreciate in one of his most famous pieces, which was the Tribute of Money. As conclusion, we can see the influence of the Medici in the impulse of artists in Florence during the Renaissances, but we can relate this to our era because we can see that if people that has the power and in this case also the money, they can impulse and create innovations in many areas and create that a city can become one of the most important in the area. Even after the medieval era, they push artists and the city to achieve an important place and relevance in the area. They became Florence as one of the most important cities, even against cities such as Rome or Milan. Transfer this to these current times, and we can see that if people with the power invest in education, innovation, and in the correct places, we can face hard times at the pandemic times right now. And I think that is one of the most important things that we should learn about the past, and is to see the good things that others did and try to apply it in our times. Thank you for your attention, everyone.